Welcome. I'm Lee Cowan, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. Actor Ralph Macchio, maybe best known as the Karate Kid in the 1984 blockbuster, has always been fiercely protective of the franchise, refusing for years to participate in reboots. But the creative team, Karate Kid superfans themselves behind the Netflix hit series Cobra Kai, convinced him it was about time. I caught up with him ahead of the release of season 6. This tiny little movie found its footing and became one of the highest grossing films of the year.
Sometimes you want your second chance to sort of taste it all again and really, enjoy it.
But you're getting that chance now.
I am getting that chance. You're dead on point there.
Fight! 4 decades later, Ralph Macchio, now 62, and his co-star William Zabka, now 58, have taken their young rivalry from the All-Valley Karate Championship
what the hell, man?
into adulthood. Later in the show, Ralph Macchio looks back on his reservations about actor Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi. What was your first reading like with Pat Morita? What was that?
Yeah,
because you were a little skeptical at first, right?
Yes, everyone was kind of skeptical of Pat Morita based on not knowing. He was a stand-up comic. He started in the business at age 30. I knew him from Arnold on Happy Days.
Right.
I mean, I watched Happy Days every Tuesday night. That was my ABC Tuesday nights, right? At that time. And so, I mean, that Arnold character, that bigger-than-life kind of cartoony cook at Mel's Diner or whatever it was.
Had that just cheesy laugh at the
end. Yeah,
that
bah ha ha ha. He did his stuff and his shtick, and I was like, how's that gonna work?
Then, from screen to canvas, world-famous artist Mickalene Thomas creates her pieces from a variety of materials, including collages, rhinestones, silk screens, sometimes even video. Her art celebrates the strength, vulnerability, and confidence of Black women. Tracy Smith caught up with Thomas at an exhibit of her work in Los Angeles.
Her mixing of media came, at least in part, out of necessity, like her signature rhinestones, which are put on one by one and can number into the thousands on a single piece.
Oil paint is very expensive. So I used what was around me, what was accessible, what was affordable. And sometimes that was materials that other people threw away. And I would just find it like, well, okay, I can't afford paint, but I'm going to work with these things.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Ralph Macchio had a pretty tough time landing roles in Hollywood after his star turn in The Karate Kid because, well, people only saw him as that character. I sat down with him to discuss his career and experiencing the magic of that role all over again. There are few Hollywood filming locations where Tinseltown's glitter still hangs on the breeze.
Those dolphins up there? See right there?
This beach, just north of Malibu, California.
No, it's many dolphins.
Oh, it's, yeah.
Yeah, school.
Oh my God. Is one of those magic places.
You're taking me down memory lane, man. This is amazing.
If you remember the movie poster, then you know exactly where the Karate Kid's Ralph Macchio and I met up and why.
What was that you doing on those stumps over there?
Called crane technique.
It is 41-ish years ago, but I remember being darn cold coming out of that water.
Does it work?
If do right, no can defense.
Daniel LaRusso had just moved to Los Angeles, as the plot goes, when he quickly becomes the target of rival Johnny Lawrence. Daniel learns karate from Mr. Miyagi, played by the late Pat Morita, and he goes on to learn about a lot more than just beating a bully. When The Karate Kid was released in 1984, it was competing with some big-budget blockbusters. But this tiny little movie found its footing and became one of the highest-grossing films of the year.
Sometimes you want your second chance to sort of taste it all again and really, enjoy it.
But you're getting that chance now.
I am getting that chance. You're dead on point there. Fight!
4 decades later, Ralph Macchio, now 62, and his co-star William Zabka, now 58, have taken their young rivalry from the All-Valley Karate Championship
what the hell? hell, man?
into adulthood in the Netflix series Cobra Kai.
Is it kind of like riding a bike? Did you get right back into those characters?
Yeah, but it needed a little WD-40.
Yeah, they're a little squeaky.
It's built up a huge following, not just those who remember the original, but by younger audiences too. And both are being treated to a new Karate Kid narrative.
You got any more dirty tricks up your sleeve?
I'm not the one who fights dirty.
What if Macchio's character, Daniel LaRusso, wasn't the real hero? What if it was Zabka's Johnny Lawrence who was the victim instead?
Oh, this is a guy whose ass you kicked.
Listen, it was a really close match, but if you want to get technical, I kicked his face. I'm just busting your chops.
It was an illegal kick.
The whole series is like, I don't know what Johnny Lawrence's life was, and he doesn't know what Daniel LaRusso's life was, but then when they come back together, now you have this richness.
That theory that Johnny was unfairly demonized
The Karate Kid is the story of Daniel, a violent sociopath who moves to a California town and begins tormenting a local boy and his friends.
had been floating around the internet for years. It even became a plot point in the CBS comedy How I Met Your Mother.
Barney, it's Ralph. Listen, it's always flat.
No! I hate Ralph Macchio. I hate him, hate him, hate him. He is not the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid was William Zabka, star pupil of the Cobra Kai dojo.
I never could imagine playing Johnny Lawrence again.
In part, that's because for decades, Macchio had been fiercely protective of the Karate Kid franchise. He had countless offers to appear in reboots, but he declined every time.
I'm like, everybody's on board? And they're like, yeah, everybody but Ralph. I'm like, okay, good luck with that.
At first, Cobra Kai looked to be facing the same fate.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Especially after Macchio learned that its creators were the trio of John Hurwitz, Josh Heald, and Hayden Schlossberg, who
were the guys who wrote Harold and Kumar, Go to White Castle, and Hot Tub Time Machine. So I wasn't sold at the get-go that these were my guys. Let's rock.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
But those same three managed to convince him.
Because one, they cared. Two, they are the super fans of the Karate Kid films.
But you need that because
you needed that because
the fans are super fans too.
That's exactly it. They wanted to make what they knew the fans would want to see.
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand.
Never doubt the power of nostalgia.
Wax off.
I want to introduce you to one of my oldest and best friends.
This is amazing.
This is as nostalgic as it gets.
Yes, Mr. Miyagi's canary yellow 47 Ford is back in Cobra Kai.
Something tells me there's a can of wax in my future.
And the car washing lessons remain too.
Show me wax on, wax off. Hey! Hey!
I gotta go.
As are some familiar faces.
Hey! You got a name? Allie, with an I.
We got Elizabeth Shue to come back and play Allie with an I. Oh my gosh. Allie, is it really you?
I think so.
Me, her, and Billy, we were right back in it.
Wow, guys, this is a little West Valley reunion, huh?
For Macchio, it's a return to a character that has both enriched his life and challenged it.
There's still lots of good in the world. Tell Dally I don't think he knows. Your buddy, Johnny.
He made a name for himself in Francis Ford Coppola's The Outsiders, and he followed up his three-part Karate Kid franchise with crowd pleasers like My Cousin Vinny.
That's a great idea. You think he'll do it? What? We got an attorney in the family.
Great, who?
My cousin Vinny.
But most casting directors saw Ralph Macchio only as what they knew.
I mean, what were casting agents saying? Just, oh, that's just the Karate Kid? The Karate Kid guy?
Certainly, and I get it. You know, I didn't not understand that line of thinking, but it was frustrating.
I mean, you have the reputation of being one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. Do you ever wonder if you had a sharper elbows, maybe?
Could be. You know, if I that's a good question. I mean, my daughter was just born, and that was the magic in my life, not necessarily movies, you know, and my son a few years after that. So I kind of drew it up perfectly, even though at the time it didn't feel that way.
He always had one foot in and one foot out of Hollywood. He was born and raised on Long Island, and he never really left. He's still married to the girl he met at a birthday party when he was only 15. And their two kids were able to grow up away from the spotlight.
My favorite story is my son when he found a box of old teen magazines, you know, Tiger Beat, Teen Beat 16. And he comes in, he called out to his sister, he goes, "Jewel, Dad was huge and we missed it."
We're all going to be remembered for just a handful of things we did in our lives. For Ralph Macchio, if one of them is influencing a generation with the Karate Kid, and then somehow doing it again decades later for a whole new generation, well, somewhere, Mr. Miyagi must be smiling.
A little bit of movie magic, kind of sacred ground in the Karate Kid universe.
Yeah, I'd say.
So, awesome.
After the break, an exclusive excerpt from my chat with Ralph Macchio, something you can only see right here on Here Comes the Sun. Stay with us.
It works for me. Provides balance, if you will, to pull off the Miyagiism, right?
As promised, here's more from my interview with Ralph Macchio.
What's it like for you to kind of watch this thing through your lens of sort of deja vu in a lot of ways?
Right.
Like, what's that like for you?
Unique.
Yeah.
Really unique. I don't know how many other experiences there are like that,
Yeah.
of an entity, of a piece of pop culture movie that comes back 40 years later at this level. For me, it's never gone away. That's the difference.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it never disappeared, and it never disappeared in pop culture, whether it's an SNL sketch, whether it's How I Met Your Mother, or, you know, The Simpsons, or what.
Yeah.
It's always lived in pop culture.
What was your first reading like with Pat Morita? What was that?
Yeah,
Because you were a little skeptical at first, right?
Yes, everyone was kind of skeptical of Pat Morita based on
Happy
not
Days.
knowing. He was a stand-up comic. He started in the business at age 30. I knew him from Arnold on Happy Days.
Right.
I mean, I watched Happy Days every Tuesday night. You know, that was my ABC Tuesday nights, right? At that time. And so, I mean, that Arnold character, that bigger-than-life kind of cartoony cook at Mel's Diner or whatever it was.
Had that
just
cheesy laugh at the
yeah,
end.
that bah, ha, 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 you know, he did his stuff and his shtick, and I was like, how's that gonna work?
And you guys became genuine friends.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, we had our own lives, and we lived in different places, and it wasn't let's get together every Friday or every month, or sometimes even years went by.
Yeah.
He would always be the first to call with a joke and his shtick. You know, he's a comic at heart, and you know, it was a special relationship, certainly on film, but even after Pat passed away, I was able to appreciate more and more of what it meant to me in my life.
A lot of the book you spend talking about how you sort of had one foot in, one foot out. Like, you know,
I still do.
You're in Long Island, you didn't move to Hollywood, you didn't become, you know. Do you think that that's why you had that dry period for a while, or whatever you want to call it?
Maybe it wasn't completely by design. When I still keep one foot in and one foot out.
Yeah.
It works for me. Provides balance, if you will, to pull off the Miyagiism, right? I think that you know, you could argue that if I stayed in it and I just went all in when things started to not come my way as easy, for lack of a better word, there might have been other opportunities that I might have been able to grab. But on the flip side to that, I also spent time years later digging in further when it was more about I have to get back, and that doesn't yield fruit necessarily either.
It's not the end of Danny LaRusso by any stretch. You're doing a movie. There's talk of a Broadway musical going on. I mean, it just keeps going.
It just keeps going. Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see what happens with other chapters with Cobra Kai as they're going to spin that off. We have so many great young characters and areas to explore. the Broadway musical. Robert Kamen is, who wrote the original screenplay, has written the book for the musical. It's in workshop phase now, and then the movie with Jackie Chan. So heading off to bring LaRusso's legacy to that chapter as well. It's really quite extraordinary. I'm feeling a little Luke Skywalker in this Star Wars vein. He could be on The Mandalorian and Rogue One, and so it's not something I take lightly, and certainly something I'm not taking for granted. It's really a great privilege, and I'm grateful to have it.
Up next, all that glitters. Welcome back. Mickalene Thomas was almost a lawyer, not an artist. But an emotional encounter with an art exhibit made her realize that she didn't need to change laws to change the world. Here's Tracy Smith.
Look at all of these rhinestones, yes.
Walk into the world of Mickalene Thomas and prepare to be dazzled.
Does this take your breath away when you...
Oh yeah, I love this piece.
The 53-year-old artist uses rhinestones, collage, silkscreen, and video to create pieces that celebrate women.
Everyone is looking out.
In a very sort of proud, confident, powerful posture.
She may be best known for her reinterpretations of classics, like this Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, a take on the Pablo Picasso and Edouard Manet paintings of the same name.
Our histories are always wrought with ideas of leaving truths out, right?
Yeah, leaving people out.
Leaving people out. And so I started questioning that.
Thomas shifted the focus to women she finds beautiful. Her muses are sometimes famous, more often not.
The everyday Black woman who should be celebrated, the women who are on the street, the women who are the laborers, the workers, but still exudes this excellence of self-awareness and pride and vulnerability and strength at the same time.
Like all great artists, she has an understanding, a grasp of what great historical artists are doing, and she's saying, okay, I'm going to turn that around. I'm going to make that my own.
Joanne Heiler is founding director of the Broad Museum in LA, home to the exhibition Mickalene Thomas, All About Love.
She is completely changing who's centered in traditional Western, especially European painting. And she's centering Black women, she's centering queer women and queer identity, and she's doing that with these beautiful works with glitter and rhinestone and literally bringing light and illumination to those lives.
The exhibit starts with a life-size recreation of the New Jersey row houses where Thomas grew up.
So you're entering 604 Mount Vernon Street.
Camden, New Jersey.
Camden, New Jersey.
Early on, she knew she wanted to make a difference, so in college she studied pre-law.
Why not think about being a lawyer and changing some necessary laws in this country?
Sure. I mean, is that what you thought? I could make change?
Yeah, of course.
I can change the world?
Yeah, that was the goal.
That is, until the day she visited a museum and saw the Kitchen Table series, a set of photographs by renowned artist Carrie Mae Weems.
That moment when I saw those photographs at the museum, I knew I wanted to be an artist.
That was it.
And that was it. That's what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to move you, incite you. And if we don't see ourselves in images, we don't know what's possible.
So you knew you wanted to do art. Did you know you could make a living at that point?
You're funny. No.
In fact, her mixing of media came, at least in part, out of necessity, like her signature rhinestones, which are put on one by one and can number into the thousands on a single piece.
Oil paint is very expensive. So I used what was around me, what was accessible, what was affordable. And sometimes that was materials that other people threw away. And I would just find it like, well, okay, I can't afford paint, but I'm going to work with these things.
I can use it.
And a lot of my process comes out of limitations. But my life has always been about limitations and working within that, around it, and through it, and above it.
Above it is right. Her work is now in museums all over the world.
I don't even want to speak about myself. I don't really like speaking about myself mostly.
And just this past May, when she was honored by the Gordon Parks Foundation in New York, her journey came full circle.
You talk back to the old masters, Mickalene, creating new ways of seeing us, seeing women.
Presenting her award was Carrie Mae Weems, the artist whose work inspired Mickalene Thomas to change her life's path 30 years ago. She didn't become a lawyer, but that dream of making a difference still came true.
Thank you. Thank you.
To have an idea and to take that idea, to transmit it through yourself, to make it come to fruition, and to make something that the world or group of people respond to. Now that's life, right?
That's changing the world.
That's changing the world.
I'm Lee Cowan. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right here next time on Here Comes the Sun.